Singapore is set to roll out a cybersecurity training guide for around 500 board directors this year. The guide is part of a nationwide initiative to strengthen corporate defences against digital threats, and it is set to be launched on the 28th of February. Now, for more on this, I'm now joined by Howie Lau, member of the Governing Council at the Singapore Institute of Directors. He is also Chief Corporate Development and Synergy Officer at NCS. Mr. Lau, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you. First of all, why the need to enhance the cyber resilience of Singapore's board directors? How will this guide achieve that?
Well, for this guide, I think if we take a step back, we all recognize that almost all companies and all industries have become digital. The second thing that we do recognize is that cyber threats, cyber breaches, cyber lapses have been on increase. And third, which is probably very critical, is that the impact of such breaches, it's now huge, whether it's cost impact, reputational impact, regulatory impact, or even just operational disruption. So against that backdrop, there is a recognition that board directors, being the apex leaders of organizations, need not only be more aware, but take on a stronger leadership role to guide the companies towards being more cyber resilient. So, SID being a National Association for Board Directors, we thought it's timely to put this guide together because it's meant to be a series of structured frameworks, a series of actionable recommendations that hopefully helps our board directors build a better resilience in their organizations.
Earlier, you were talking about cyber threats being on the rise. How concerning is that at this point?
I think if you look at the proliferation, the surveys have shown that it has gone up. I think on the positive side, what we do see in Singapore is that companies have been increasing their adoption of cyber solutions. So many more companies are buying the equivalents of locks and keys and alarms and fences and gates. But against that backdrop, it is still a challenge because for every lock, for every alarm that you install, there are new ways that are being developed that could potentially breach your lock and your gate. So especially with the advancement of AI, there is an ongoing concern that the potential cyber vulnerabilities will increase. So think of it as while you're building your locks and your alarms, there are now new ways that could breach your house through the roof, under the ground, through your neighbors. So I think that's where the need for a better awareness and better set of knowledge to help with the build-up of the resilience.
That is very worrying, and it is basically to raise the boardroom's readiness to meet these crises and disruptions. And we understand that the sessions will take place over 5 sessions throughout this year. And there will be an overview of the regulatory landscape and a checklist for board readiness, a process for cyber resilience. But what does all of this mean for the broader digital ecosystem?
Well, first of all, there's 2 parts to what we are putting together. Part 1 is a guide. So this guide has 10 chapters and it has all the checklists, the frameworks, the recommendations, the 8 steps for cyber resilience, the 4 tenets of cyber.
Okay.
That's one part. The second part is that we will then take this guide and translate it into a series of training, the 5 training that we talk about. And we hope to reach at least 500 board directors because it's not just a guide, but a training mechanism. Okay. So the end in mind is not just better awareness and better equipped and more savvy board directors, but the aspiration is that the organizations that they lead will, on an aggregate level, become a lot more resilient, a lot more savvy as well.
It was discussed at the launch of this guide that local companies, especially smaller ones, should have a mindset change towards cybersecurity this year. How are organizations currently managing cyber resilience, and what are some of the challenges they face and the areas for improvement?
I think the challenges that everyone faces, regardless of size of company, is that this landscape is complex and increasingly more complex. I'll give you a data from a survey that said that in large organizations, there's an average of 46 cyber tools in an organization. So imagine in any organization, you have 46 cyber tools, it's very hard to manage. Okay. So that's part of the challenge. So the ability for the organizations then to use the right tools, but incorporate the right cyber culture is equally important.
And how can we do better? Because if we look at a global cybersecurity outlook survey done by World Economic Forum released last month, 72% of respondents reported an escalation in cyber risks last year in 2024. What are some examples of strategies to mitigate cyber risks?
Within the guide itself, we have laid out a 8-step recommendation that starts from the board building a clarity of roles and responsibility between the board and management. There is a chapter that talks about how do you then understand the capabilities and gaps you have in your organization. How do you build this business risk into part of your enterprise risk management framework? How do you build monitoring facilities to have a view? And the 8th step is, we believe, equally, if not more important, that getting a cyber breach is not a question of when, but it's sooner or later.
Yeah.
So there is a view that it's also about recovery and relearning, because how do you not just anticipate, implement, but be able to recover if and when it happens?
All right, Mr. Lau, thank you so much. It's always good to be prepared. That was Howie Lau from the Singapore Institute of Directors and NCS. Thank you.
Thank you very much.